the mind is the last place to look for common sense. Because the mind will either identify with the body, and that's not common sense, or the mind will identify with the jiva when it's beaten 100 times with a shoe, and that's not common sense, that's force. So the mind is the most fickle, treacherous thing that we have. And it's still treacherous. Even when we become devotees, the mind is treacherous. Because we still get up in the morning, brush our teeth, look in the mirror and say, that's me. Okay, as long as you say that's you, you're screwed. Because it's not you, that's your body. As long as you think that pus, blood, stool, and urine is even remotely you, simply because it's been you since conception, you thought it was you since conception, there comes a time when the mind has to be taken away from the body and restored to the jiva, where the jiva says, I am, aham brahmasmi, I am spirit soul. But how can the jiva say, I am spirit soul, if it thinks it's the body?
It cannot.
I mean, where's the common sense in that? So common sense has nothing to do with the mind. Common sense has to do with the jiva saying, aham brahmasmi, and then dealing with everything from that point of view, not as a material point of view. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So anyhow, if we want to get back on track, can you see that our job right now is to expose the GBC as criminals? 52 years ago, they committed a crime. That's fine. But it can be brought to justice today. How do we bring them to justice? We don't bring them to justice. We don't have the money or the power to do that. We take away their money and power by telling the congregation that they committed this crime 52 years ago. Supposing every temple president, every congregation member, every pujari, every Hindu that wants to join the temple, every 15-year-old, 20-year-old that would love to be a devotee because is nervous because of the way it's structured. Supposing they would understand the way it's structured is corrupted by the GBC, has nothing to do with how attractive it was when a 15-year-old joined back in 1967.
Yeah.
Well, back in 1967, there was no problem joining. You had nothing to worry about. You didn't have anybody over your head telling you what to do. You knew what to do because you had studied Prabhupada's teaching. Chant Hare Krishna, worship the deity, offer obeisances to your godbrothers, not Vancha Kalpratarujcha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta. You worship the godbrother as your spiritual master. Because he's a jiva. The Vancha Kalpa was introduced by the GBC.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And what was their goal? Oh, I'm offering obeisance to every crappy person that identifies as being a devotee, no matter what he thinks or does or feels. That's a general statement.
So, okay, that got changed. Huh? When did that get changed? From Nama Om Vishnu Padaya to Vanchakalpa, when did that change? Do you remember?
Probably in the late 90s. Or mid or late 90s.
Acha. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, well, look it up. And be prepared to encounter lies about how it was introduced too.
Yeah, that's what.
Obviously, it's apparent that Prabhupada had to have spoken, but not to take the place of Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. He told me personally. I heard him tell others personally. Can you imagine if you have a temple with 20 people in it and Prabhupada's there, and he tells you Nama Om Vishnu Padaya? Somebody's going to say, no, I'd rather do Panchakalpa.
No way. We follow what Prabhupada is. Yeah.
No. So why do what we get when we get rid of the GBC? Get rid of them. What happens when we get rid of the GBC, or rather so discredit them that nobody cares what they think, say, or do? When we get rid of the GBC, then we'll find ourselves taking our instructions directly from Srila Prabhupada.
Joy.
People say, well, who's going to be the guru? Prabhupada's going to be the guru. He's quite capable. Does anyone find that Prabhupada is not capable of giving a spiritual life?
He's already
He
doing.
created the GBC. He didn't create them. They created themselves for money and power only. They incorporated ISKCON internationally. Prabhupada had to go along with it.
Right.
What choice did he have?
What choice did he have? Right.
But I would say he wasn't counting on us. I would say he was counting on us. Because when he sat me down and explained to me Kanista Madhyam Uttamadhikari and how the Vedic cultural Brahmins did not even come up to Kanista Adhikari. They were not yet Kanista Adhikari. We say, well, the people in ISKCON are certainly not up to the level of Vedic Brahmins of 5,000 years ago. So how can we say that we are more advanced than the Brahmins? And the answer is very simple. We're not doing pujas to help people get material things in their life.
Right.
Which is what the Vedic Brahmins are doing.
Right.
And that's where the Hindus all came from being part of that culture, Brahminical culture, to get people material things that they wanted by demigods and whatnot, That's why it's so important to isolate ourselves from the Hindu, even what was the Sanatana Dharma. We have to separate ourselves because that was destroyed by the Muslims.
Janice Priya Prabhu wants to say something, I think.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I agree with everything he said.
Okay. You don't have to agree.
Well, say
I know.
something. Say something that I will recognize as being in agreement. Let me ask you, what is our primary task today?
Is to figure out what's going to be our first step to make this get this ball rolling.
No, to forget the past.
No, nothing to do with the past. It's how we as a group, we're going to get this.
We're not a group. We are individuals. This is the ghost.
We as individuals cooperating. How could we get this going?
Get what going?
Expose.
What is our number one task right now?
To say that ISKCON did not exist after 1970.
Now, our number one task is that. Our number one task is to say the GBC are criminals and must be distanced from the ISKCON temples that belong to, not to them, but to Srila Prabhupada. So, Prabhu, can you agree with that?
Yeah.
Or is that too ferocious for you?
But the thing is that all of ISKCON are legally the property of the GBC Society of West Bengal, which is a separate incorporation, and their bylaws state that all of ISKCON's assets belong to them.
So we don't need assets. Oh, in terms of temples, what if you have a temple with 200 members in it, and suppose 150 of them vote to separate from the GBC? So that's the majority.
They will have to get a new building.
Do to say we own this temple? What would the GBC be able to say? We own this temple. So you do on paper, but we're not dealing in paper. We're talking spiritually. You don't own the temple. ISKCON owns the temple, and you are not members of ISKCON yourselves.
Well,
GBC. What?
The thing is that, for example, Madhu Pandit's temple in Bangalore is in continuous legal conflicts with the GBC.
That's because he's not trying to get rid of the GBC. He was initiated by Chai Pataka. He's playing games with the GBC. Table tennis, bang, 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 back and forth. What if he simply said you don't exist? He's never tried that, has he?
No.
It's because Yasoda and Paranjan came in with their anti-ISKCON, anti-guru program instead of
GBC.
that the GBC no longer exists, never did exist. If
Yeah, they were attacking the
claimed
wrong
that
people.
The GBC never existed, they could take that to court.
Yeah.
What did you say, Ramachandra?
I said the GBC never existed as Prabhupada wanted it. They just hijacked the term and
Yeah,
made
but
it.
True.
the point is, it doesn't matter if Prabhupada wanted or didn't want. The GBC never existed at all,
Yeah, right.
because the only way for it to exist would be to be elected every 3 years.
Yes, yes,
By
They
their
never
founding
agreed.
charter.
yes.
Yeah. So if you have the founding charter for the GBC every 3 years, let them show that they are GBC. When they had that court case in Long Island, for some reason, they were not able to bring in that the GBC are not GBC. They had to negotiate with it, but I don't think they did. I tried very hard to get it. What I'm saying right now to be the ruling law in Long Island.
Hmm.
They don't have standing. Why? Because they disobeyed the spiritual master. In that Long Island case, the lawyer for the Long Island devotees went back 30 years or more to where they had their last legal meeting of board of directors. They never had meetings of board of directors. So they could not, any of the resolutions that were made didn't exist after the last resolutions of the board of directors that exist are the ones that the board of directors voted 35 years ago. So everything they resolved since that time was thrown out of court. This is a legal court. It was thrown out of court. Everything that was said on one side or the other, without the board of directors having voted it and having minutes and signed minutes and with a chairman and everything, just legal or a corporation, without operating with the corporation, they had to give up every resolution that had been passed.
Wow.
For 35 years.
Where could access those documents?
It doesn't matter. There was things, this belongs to this temple, this belongs to ISKCON, this is this is that. Long Island temple, they were saying this is a Prabhupada temple. They said this is Prabhupada's temple, not GBC temple. And they did exactly what we're doing, except they kept on dragging it out instead of going straight for the jugular. The jugular being,
GBC does not exist.
can the GBC prove that they were ever authorized by Prabhupada
No,
to be GBC?
no.
Well, I say no. Well, they kept on testifying in court and nobody knocked them out. But I would say that's our job right now. Never mind what happened in Long Island 10 years ago.
Jai.
Okay. So what we need to do is to make a stand, take a stand. Can we, Prabhu's online, vote right now to vote amongst ourselves that the GBC does not exist? Is there anyone here that wants to say the GBC does exist?
No way it does not exist.
Who else wants to join? That's you and me. Now, who else? Rupa, can you say the GBC does not exist?
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
yeah, I mean-
hijack that word.
Okay, now who else? Who's also online? Let's see what they say.
Yeah, me too.
Well, say what it is. Yes, the GBC
GBC does not exist.
Yes. And why? Because they disobeyed Prabhupada, right?
They hijacked They stole it
They stole it from who?
from Prabhupada.
Yes. Therefore, they do not exist because they stole it by committing guru aparad,
Hmm.
mad elephant offense against the guru.
Jonas,
Now, maybe the court of law doesn't care about that, but we do.
Jonas Priya Prabhu, have you read The Direction of Management?
Yes, I read it in 1980 and I was so surprised. I was like, how come nobody told me about this?
Nobody told anybody about it.
Yeah, I
You know,
found
when I
out in
first saw-
1980 and I said, if we have put this, if we done it properly, ISKCON would be so nice. It'd be perfect. Not
Okay,
perfect, but
so but neither you nor I nor anybody else said let's create a party to get the GBC out.
Right. Right.
We didn't do it. We just sat back like a bunch of masochists being whipped by a sadist. A group
Yeah.
of sadists whipping us as though we're what do we call it? What is it called? The people that are bound up with whips are called. What are they called, Rupa?
Prisoners.
Masochists.
Masochists. Yeah, but a
most
bunch
of us
masochists being whipped.
most of us
The
we were
GBC is beating us. How bad they are. We hate
most
the
of us
GBC
we were
because they're
licking
beating
our
us.
wounds.
What?
Most of us we were licking our wounds.
Yeah. Okay. I first read the. Do you when I first read the Direction of Management, Prabhu?
Nope.
1970. I was in New Vrindavan when the four sannyasis, Mr. John and Ramananda, etc., were doing that Prabhupada's God blasphemy.
Mhm.
And Rupa Nuga, who's going to be more of our conversation one way or another, said, Nara, this is something that right up your alley, you'll like it. He took me in to read the Direction of Management. It was basically hot off the press. It was probably a few weeks old.
Wow.
I don't know, what time, does anyone know the date on the Direction of Management?
July 28th, 1970.
Yeah, it was probably July 28th. Well, it was probably August then when I read it.
Mm-hmm.
We can find out when that Vrindavan meeting was in 1970.
Wow.
Usually it's earlier, like June and stuff like that, June, July. But July 28th, it was written, Rupa Nuga showed me, and it said this is how it's going to be set up, that the temple presidents will elect the GBC. I said, well, when is this going to be distributed to the temple presidents? He said, well, right now, Prabhupada wants it kept under wraps. It is a secret document. I said, it doesn't sound like a secret document. If the temple presidents are going to be electing the GBC, why shouldn't they know that? But from 1970, you know, when I next was able to see the, next time I really was asking for the Direction of Management was in 1980 something. I asked Jaya Tirtha, who used to be my roommate, best friend, etc., in Los Angeles, and I asked him, where can I see a copy of the Direction of Management? He turned on me on the front lawn of this Los Angeles temple, snarled a hideous Arabian Muslim smile, pointed at me and snarled, it's locked in a safe. And he knew that I knew where the safe was because I'd installed the safe. He knows it's locked in a safe. And you, he pointed at me with venom in his face, will never get to see it. Can you imagine? That's what everybody's supposed to be obeying. So then I finally did find it again, believe it or not, in the most conspicuous way, when they created the database and when computers started coming out. I got my first Apple computer that had enough less database on it than my cell phone has, I think. And I went into the database, looked for the Direction of Management, and there it was. So I printed it out. And from that time in 1992 onward, I've been 100%, and Rupa Manjari has been 100% pushing for the Direction of Management.
All right.
Okay, So what about, and then I talked to Harivalas in Seattle in 1977, and he said that, I asked him if he'd seen the Direction of Management. He said I did, but not until 1979. No, what am I saying? No, 2007. I talked to him. He said he hadn't seen it since 1979. That was, what, 20 years, right? Or 30 years. Well, whatever it was a long time. And did he ever act on it? No. Now he's an initiating guru. Even though he was supposedly a Ritvik, or,
Who is this?
Harivalas. You remember Harivalas? We
Oh,
stayed
yeah.
in his place in
Yeah,
Seattle. He didn't sound like a guru at the time, did he?
No.
He's a
But
guru
because
now. He has
because he
initiated
owned
some
all that
people I know
property,
from Fiji.
ISKCON could have taken it away from him. The GBC could have taken it away from him if he hadn't become a guru. So he had a choice to either become a guru or lose everything he'd worked on for 20 years.
Well, he became a guru.
Yeah, well, whatever. I don't know how you say that in French, but that's what he became.
Okay.
So
So,
anyhow, now where are we?
so
are we back to the Pledge of Allegiance to the Direction of Management?
Hare Krishna,
Aye.
Hari Bol.
Haribol,
Does
Haribol.
anyone in this group not pledge allegiance to the Direction of Management?
We'll kill him now.
Yeah, well, that would be a shortcut.
I'll snipe
We
him
don't
from
need to
here.
kill him. All we need to do now. Does anyone here doubt that if we got the majority of people in 10 temples or 20 temples to reject the GBC as criminals and start to publicize that they are criminals
Yes.
widely all over ISKCON, do you think there's anything the GBC could do legally to get us out of the temples?
They
No.
get a restraining order.
They can do whatever they like, but we can claim that they don't have the authority. If they
Yeah.
want to get a restraining order, legal one, we go to the court and say they are not GBC. They are thieves.
Hmm.
And why are you getting a restraining order in behalf of thieves? Well, all sorts of people voted them in. Everybody permitted them. Well, right now we have 20 temples with 60 members each that say no. They're not voting them in. They are not voting them out. We're just saying we're not related to this GBC because it isn't the GBC. So, Prabhu, what do you think? Can you
But the
accept
thing
that
is,
yourself?
the thing is that the majority of those people will be initiated to ISKCON gurus who are also GBC members.
Also what? Do you think all
So
the...
they
okay,
have-
I have to... Okay, fine. But do I have to point out how many people that are initiated really think that their guru is going to deliver them from repeated birth and death?
All of
And
them.
if so, are they correct?
They're wrong, but all of them believe that. They're heavily
Okay, if they believe it,
brainwashed.
then what is the process that the guru will deliver them from repeated birth and death? Can you tell me? What do they believe?
They just believe it's the greedy leading the blind.
Fine. So what if we say the greedy blind men are leading the gurus, and the gurus are also greedy blind men? What if we say they are illegal? They from the Krishna. Now, we have to take into account. We have to choose sides using common sense. Are we in favor of planet Earth and its laws and its fallible and its bodies full of pus, blood, stool, and urine? Or are we in favor of Krishna Loka, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, the Yuga Avatar, Lord Chaitanya, and the holy name of Krishna? You do realize, Prabhu, that the holy name does not require a guru to deliver it, right? Are you aware of that?
What about Bhagavad Gita? Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively.
You don't think Prabhupada is a good enough spiritual master? Do you have a better one? Who is he? Who's
Prabhupada.
better than Prabhupada to be spiritual master?
Nobody.
Nobody.
No, let
I
him
know.
respond. He's trying to think if who's better than Prabhupada to be spiritual master.
No, I don't need to think. I'm
Well,
sorry.
thinking is not bad. But the problem with this gun is nobody thinks. So we're saying, go
Prabhu,
ahead, think.
I used to be in 1977 at the San Diego Temple, and there was a hanging bridge. I used to go on Chanjapa, and I went to that bridge, and I had this illumination, and I had this understanding that it doesn't matter what happens in the future. Prabhupada is my guru, Krishna is my God, and Bhagavad Gita is my book, and I don't care what happens. And that really
but you end up
helped
kissing
me.
the hind end
Nope.
of the
Nope.
GBC.
Nope. I was always called a rebel.
Okay, so Bhaktidas was in charge there, or Tulsidas? Who was in charge?
Gunagrahi.
Gunagrahi. By then, yeah. And that
Yeah.
bridge, was that the bridge that went over the big freeway towards the park?
Yeah. No, on the other side, went towards the airport. There's a big
Okay,
valley
I don't
there.
know. Was that the original two-story building?
Yeah, that's the house on Torrance
Was on
Street, close to
10th or
Balboa
11th
Park.
Avenue, wasn't it?
Yeah, Torrance 10th.
10th. Yeah, I carved the Subhadra deity there.
Oh, you know what happened? That Subhadra burned to the ground.
The the one that burned to the ground, I replaced with one that I carved.
Oh, I was there. I went and opened the curtain, and you know how they tie the clothes together with pins and stuff, and it was amazing because Subhadra was just ashes on the altar, and the Krishna Balaram, they were totally perfect, and I was like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
It's like these people that have strange deaths where they sort of self-ignite in their beds, and their bed doesn't burn, their house doesn't burn, but their body burns up completely.
Yeah. They were pushing pins into Subhadra. They were pushing pins into her body when they were dressing her.
Whatever they were doing,
like it.
she didn't have to burn herself up. We don't have to have a material solution for why she burned up.
Yeah.
The exact same thing happened in Boston. Big deity, a big Subhadra burned up. Standing in place didn't affect Balaram or
Jagannath.
Jagannath. So
Wow.
I carved the Subhadra in Boston also.
Interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
I was there I was like the handyman that came in to fix all the problems. So guess what? If you have a problem, you call in the handyman, then he knows all the problems. You can't give him we want a solution. You come in and say, this is the problem. So they describe. Similarly, they couldn't dance in the temple room, which is where they would wheel. It was a funeral parlor where they could wheel out the dead bodies before we got it, because when they jumped up and down, the floor would collapse or begin to collapse. So they got me there, and I built timbers across over. The press was in the basement, so I built timbers with poles with beams coming down to the ground, and then cross beams at the top to hold up the floor. So I understood the problem. I solved the problem. But the people that danced on the floor didn't know there was a problem. They didn't know it had been solved. They all were coming in from Harvard to take prasadam to dance. Harvard was just on the street. So anyhow, so now I want to get a little more grim. I want to hear everyone uttering from their heart the GBC.
It's not GBC. Why?
Against Srila Prabhupada.
Why are you saying GBC?
So-called.
No, GBC. So-called. Those that call themselves GBC committed a crime against Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
And they must be exposed as criminals.
Yes.
To everybody.
Yes.
You think we're just going to expose it to the devotees in the temple? Oh, here's a secret. They're criminals. No, we want it in the newspapers. We want it on the radio. We want it on internet. We want it on chat groups. We want it everywhere. They are criminals.
Yes.
Can you imagine what would happen? Look at all the social media online. A cat saved a baby from drowning. Next thing you know, there's 100,000 likes.
Yeah. Right.
Why don't we do that?
Try. Let's do it.
The GBC are criminals.
Yes.
Make it clear. Make it public. Make it open. Now we're talking behind their backs because they're so powerful. By the time we finish talking, people will come up to the GBC and say, "Are you criminals?"
Yes.
They will come. Who will come? Hindus will come. Donors will come. And then neophytes that want to take initiation will come. And then devotees that are sick and tired of what's going on will come. Because they're there doing it because they want to go back to Godhead, chanting Hare Krishna, kissing the asses of the bowing down to the gurus, whatever I said. It's close enough, I guess. Doing all of that for the gurus. And they will come. And then, what about the older devotees like us, who came, were disgusted after 20 years of being devotees, or maybe after only not even joining, like yourself, Ramachandra? What about us? What about us?
Mm-hmm.
The dissatisfied majority of initiated Prabhupada disciples.
Yeah.
How many disciples of Prabhupada have left?
Too many.
Huh?
Too many.
How? Yeah. Many.
No. Too
Yeah.
many means nothing. How many number do you think?
Out of 4,756, I think there's like 200
That's your
left.
calculation?
Yeah.
I would put it closer, maybe more than 10,000.
On the book, there's 4,700 and something.
Okay, now, of the ones that are not dead and haven't gone over to kiss the hind end of Narayan Maharaj, would you say that they are pissed off or annoyed, shall we say, to be nicer about it, with the fact that the temples became so unfriendly and the gurus, what Bhavananda said, when people came, I think it was on that recording you made, Ramachandra, that they came to the new gurus and said, "We don't like the fact that you're becoming new gurus." And they can say, "That's fine. You can leave. We're going to have millions of our own disciples. We don't need you."
Yeah. Yes.
That was on that tape, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you can see at that point, everyone should have stood up and said, while grieving for Prabhupada, who was poisoned under our noses, our very noses, not yours, Ramachandra, but under mine and others, that they have committed the greatest crime. And by saying, we have our own disciples, everyone else can leave. Rameshwar told me, I was very emotionally close with Rameshwar because he was in charge of publishing Prabhupada's books. And I was in charge of illustrating them for 5 years or 6 years. And so I was working very closely with Rameshwar. So without even thinking, he would come up to me and confide in me. And he said, Nara Narayan, Prabhupada's whole problem was his envious godbrothers. So I would like 95% of my godbrothers to leave, meaning Prabhupada's disciples.
Wow. He said it to you. Rameshwar said.
Because otherwise I will have nothing but envious godbrothers.
Wow.
He told me that on the front lawn
Wow.
of the Los Angeles temple. I could show you the exact spot where he was standing. Still there. Weirdly, grass still grows there. It doesn't wilted, but it should have wilted.
Rameshwar said Prabhupada had envious godbrothers, and he said, I also have envious godbrothers. He was speaking about you and others, no?
He was speaking about Yasoda also. He was speaking about anybody that came and objected. He's speaking about Pradyumna, who was Prabhupada's most confidential translator and editor of Sanskrit language for his
Mhm.
books.
Right.
They got rid of Pradyumna. They kicked him out
Mm.
because Pradyumna committed the great offense in their view that he said, here's the rules for he thought he was doing them a favor that they would like.
Mm.
He
Mm.
said, the proper etiquette for the successor guru is that he never sits more than a eighth of an inch above his god brothers.
Mm. Mm.
And they said, why? Because the successor guru can sit on kusa grass and everyone else can sit on the floor.
Mm.
And kusa grass is an eighth of an inch thick, the mat.
You mean successor guru? There was nothing called successor guru. Prabhupada never appointed any successor guru.
They said they were successor guru.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
After July 9th letter, they said we're the successor gurus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they came to Pradyumna to give them all the Shastric rules to govern their behavior.
Mm.
And he said, you cannot sit more than a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch above your godbrothers.
So they kicked him out first.
They banned him from ISKCON altogether.
Wow.
And then they couldn't publish Prabhupada's books
Mm-hmm.
for a year and a half.
Yeah.
That's when they kicked me out of the art department.
Oh, that's the same. Okay. Uh-huh.
That's one of the reasons. And so they kicked me out of the art department. One of the reasons was I said, I have the greatest relationship with Rameshwar, but you're saying that he's a pure devotee in the same level of Srila Prabhupada. I will say definitively, he's a great godbrother of mine. I offer my obeisances. I call him Prabhu, which means master, but he's not a pure devotee on the same level of Srila Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to Rameshwar and told him that I committed a blasphemy against him, and they kicked me out.
Okay.
There was more to it than that, but that's what they did. In the end, Jadharani came to me, which I didn't ever want to speak with her again because she was the one that wanted me kicked out.
What happened? What happened is that Tamal Krishna, after they became gurus, he wanted to go to Vrindavan, so he called them, and Pradyumna was there, and he said, "I'm coming to Vrindavan, and I want a Prabhupada-like reception." So he comes into Vrindavan temple, and they throw him a little cushion to sit on, and he was totally pissed. He was angry. He started swearing and calling names, and he got up and he left. And he said, "I'm coming tomorrow at a certain time, and I want a real reception." Same thing happened next day. So that same day, Pradyumna was let go, and the temple president was let go, and new management took over.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Were you there or you read it?
I somebody was there and told me the story.
Yeah. And you know the guy that was doing sculptures there in Vrindavan?
I know of him.
What is his name?
Drama something.
No, it wasn't that.
Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta.
Bhaktisiddhanta, yeah. Hard to forget that name. So Bhaktisiddhanta was the teacher of one of my sons. But anyhow, Bhaktisiddhanta was there, and they all had little Vyasasans made, bunch of them. You know what Bhaktisiddhanta did?
He cut the legs.
He went upstairs with the Vyasasans, one after another, threw them off the edge of the temple, and they smashed on the ground. I don't think anyone ever found out who did it.
Wow, that's so cool.
It is cool.
Is he still alive?
I'm not sure. I think, well, he got Parkinson's disease, I believe.
Acha.
All right. So we're coming down to the wire. 15 more minutes, Prabhus.
Okay, well, I've certainly said plenty, but Ramachandra, do you see what I was saying? And I didn't mean to say it because I wanted to be the one saying it. I don't want to be the one saying it. I want everyone online except me to be saying it. That the GBC must be exposed as being illegal, and the temple presidents, everybody, they must understand that everything they did was against Srila Prabhupada, even when Srila Prabhupada was here. And that's going to be tough for some people because they would say, well, Prabhupada was here, he must have approved.
Not necessarily.
No. Did Bhaktisiddhanta approve of everything the Gaudiya Math did in his last days?
No.
No. So Prabhupada did what he needed to do to keep the movement from collapsing, including letting Tamal create the rhythmic letter. Because the rhythmic letter was the means by which Tamal and the others on that letter would keep the movement from being split apart into pieces.
Right, right.
Because they would become regular gurus. To be sure that they became regular gurus, Prabhupada sent them to Sridhar. Say he will explain to you what to do as rhythmics. But they went to Sridhar and didn't say Prabhupada wanted us to be how to be rhythmic.
Officiating acharyas, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, they use the word rhythmic, which I hate, and they use officiating acharyas. They didn't mention officiating acharyas. They said he wants us to be regular gurus. And Sridhar took one look at them and he said,
if you said that, then you do it.
You must be kidding.
You must be kidding, huh?
No, he said it's impossible.
Yeah, they were devotees for a few years only, and they became successor.
I heard a different story on that topic, exactly.
Well, I have a pretty authorized story. I studied it very carefully. So what's your story?
They went to Sridhar and they start really like crying and begging and saying, because they were very friendly with him. They've been cultivating him. They've been working him over. So they were expecting. So he said, yes, you could be gurus, but you have to go and open your own temples. You have to buy your own properties. You could not take possession of your spiritual master temples and throw the devotees out. You could not do this. And after that point, they abandoned him. They never went back.
I happen to have a 3-document transcript of every word that was spoken.
Nice.
Yeah. But it was a little more complicated than that, because they actually convinced Sridhar, against his better instincts, that they had been appointed to be gurus. And he may have said that about how they have to open their own temples, but I'm sure that they got aware of that. Because Sridhar, are you aware that Sridhar made Ananta Vasudev the head acharya of all the Gaudiya Math temples after Vasisiddhanta?
I don't know much of the history.
Well, he did. That Prabhupada wrote a poem.
That's in Lilamrita. Actually,
He wrote a poem in which he condemned Nanta Vasudev, his godbrother. So Sridhar, and he's written so much, Prabhupada wrote so much about how Sridhar used political influence to put Ananta Vasudev, who turned out to be a homosexual. His wife turned out to be having affairs. To keep it under wraps, they murdered their son as the acharya of the Gaudiya Math, the new acharya of the Gaudiya Math. And then Ananta Vasudev realized the disaster that he was in the middle of and committed suicide. Are you aware of all of that?
No. But sounds like a good example
Sridhar,
to the fake
was up to
GBC to follow.
Sridhar was up to his ears. Therefore, Prabhupada sent the 11 gurus or the officiating acharyas to Sridhar. He knew what he was doing. He knew that Sridhar would help them justify themselves becoming regular gurus. And would you accept this? Prabhupada wanted them to become regular gurus. Do you know why?
Why?
Because they had these 11 guys had 11 zones. They were all GBC, so-called GBCs of their 11 zones. If Prabhupada had entered Samadhi when they were simply GBCs of 11 zones, each one would have declared his zone to be a separate ISKCON. Okay?
Mm.
Prabhupada wanted ISKCON to remain one piece. And if to having 11 bogus gurus on their own, like Kirtanananda and Vrindavan, to have 11 gurus on their own was worse than having 11 gurus as the directors of the entire ISKCON. So Prabhupada ensured that ISKCON would be under the control of these 11 gurus, knowing full well, being tricollegial, that after a short period of time, that they would start falling down and murdering each other and all the things that they ended up doing. So Prabhupada lost nothing by them becoming gurus, but he gained what we have. The GBC is still there. None of us fought to get rid of it until now. Now we have fought to get rid of it. But if we thought to get rid of it back then, we couldn't have, because he was busy talking to them, dealing with them, reassuring them, giving them instructions. How could we go against the GBC? However, it may seem 52 years in terms of our material bodies is a fairly good chunk of time.
Right.
Depending on how old you were when you joined this country or took initiation from Prabhupada. But the actual fact is 52 years out of 500 years, out of 5,000 years,
Nothing.
out of 10,000 years.
Yeah.
Is that a significant period of time?
Insignificant. Yes.
It's not even a sneeze.
Yeah. Right.
It would take by that measurement, it would take 500 years just to sneeze. It's just a little glitch.
A little glitch that would solve. Right.
Yeah. In 100 years, if we succeed, when we succeed by discrediting the GBC, in 100 or 200 years, which I'm sure we'll be there to keep an eye on, because it's a little harder to go back to Godhead than when it imagines it to be having come from the Catholic Church originally, where you die and go to heaven, end of story, because Jesus died for your sins. That if it takes a few lifetimes, or maybe a couple of hundred lifetimes, before we go from where we are right now to becoming Uttama Adhikaris like Prabhupada, through the process of Madhyama Adhikari, it will be a long time compared to the 52 years. It'll be a large number of probably 52 lifetimes or more. We don't know how long it will take before we give up our material bodily conception, birth after birth. But the one thing we can be sure of, that Prabhupada has guaranteed us, if we follow properly, as we try, that our next birth will be a human birth in ISKCON. In other words, we'll take a human birth and we will not be eating meat, we will not be taking intoxication, we will be worshiping the deity, we will be reading his books, we will be chanting japa until we get to the point of becoming the Madhyama Adhikari, which could take many lifetimes as ISKCON members. Certainly the ISKCON members that are now, particularly the GBC, haven't made very many strides towards becoming Madhyama Adhikaris, have they? So we know they're going to take at least one more birth. But one more birth, what about they have to go to hell first?
Well, we gotta wind it up. We got 4 minutes, so let's hit the bullet point.
Do you want to do the winding?
No, you do it.
Well, can you get everyone to roar the GBC is illegal and we will prove it to all the devotees and the press and the media?
And then we'll write it in stone.
No need to write it in stone. Stones wear out after a period of time. We're dealing with eternity.
We'll write it. Okay, we'll write it online then.
That lasts forever. Okay, so until Twitter takes us off. But the thing is, can you say that? Can you get everyone to declare that?
Yes.
Use your own words. That we want the GBC to be exposed in the press, in ISKCON, and in such a way that the devotees can elect a new GBC.
Jai. That's the only way.
Get everyone to say it.
Bolo, bolo.
So we want all the devotees to understand how Srila Prabhupada wanted this set up. So the GBC must be elected from the pool of temple presidents, and they're elected for a certain amount of time, and then the temple presidents vote them in. And if it's not done like this, it is not a GBC. It is something else. And we are going to...
Who on this call, what to speak of those that are tuning into the call on different media, who on this call is willing to say, yes, I will put down my life for this? If you want to go back to Godhead, you're not going to go back to Godhead if you don't say yes. Because how can you go back to Godhead voting for a GBC even if you vote for them so that you can be against them? We have to get them, not vote for them, no more GBC like that. Can you get everyone to pledge their allegiance to getting the elected GBC back again and these GBCs exposed in all the media?
Try. So that's what we're doing here. That's why we're having...
Can you get them to say it?
They will have to contact me and say it.
Are they all offline now?
No, they're watching. They're watching from different places, and if they like to contact
I'm talking about the people. Or did our own members leave?
No, we have Janaspriya there, we have Rupa Manjari, and we have Vinayak. That's it.
Okay, so can they say, this is my name and I vow that the GBC must be exposed in such a way that their criminality will be known by everybody?
Let's catch these criminals now. Finish their business.
Okay, but how? In the media?
We need to propagate this in the communities with the
Never mind the communities. How about the world?
Yeah, but we need to talk to the people that go to the temples.
Devotees. We need the people who might become devotees to say no to the GBC. They're criminals.
Yes, they're not GBC. Yes.
Yeah, and can we say that to the people that want to be devotees?
Yes.
You say. How about the other 3-4 people online? Can you get them to say it?
If I say yes, they say yes.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, I want to hear their voice say yes.
Yes.
Is Vinayak say yes?
Vinayak is in Japan.
It's 10 o'clock.
He can't say. Yes. Rupa, do you say yes?
Say by the bell.
Yes.
Do you say yes, Rupa?
I said yes. Now it's time to wrap it up.
Okay. Haribol.
Haribol. Yai Prabhupada. Thank you so much, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Our meetings in the future have to be more and more focused on this exact topic so that we don't have to do a whole monologue on my part to try to convince everyone that this is what's needed. You should be convincing me this is what's needed.
This is what we need, Nara Narayan. And you're a leader and you need to keep on pushing.
I may be a leader, but a leader is nobody if the followers don't lead themselves.
You're our inspiration.
I don't know. I want you to be my inspiration.
Let's be all our inspiration.
Not all. I want you. Are you willing to be my inspiration?
Prabhu is my inspiration.
Are you willing to be Vinayak? Are you willing to be my inspiration?
Jai.
Jai. Haribol.
Jai means what? Is that yes?
Yes,
Jai
sir.
means yes.